Have you ever been humming a tune while cooking, only to hear a grandmother's voice in the back of your head saying, "Don't sing in the kitchen"? We've all heard it. It's one of those phantom rules we inherit, a piece of advice passed down through generations that feels both silly and strangely serious. We're told not to do it, but were we ever told the real reason why? Most of us just brush it off as an old wives' tale meant to keep us quiet. But what if it was something more? What if that simple warning was a relic, a surviving echo of forgotten dangers, bizarre supernatural beliefs, and rigid social codes? It's not just a quaint saying. It's a forgotten rule, with origins stretching back through centuries of practical fears, strange superstitions, and surprising social expectations. These are the hidden histories our elders never fully explained, the secrets baked into the very heart of our homes. Today we're unraveling the 3 hidden reasons our elders warned us to never sing in the kitchen. The first secret isn't rooted in magic, but in brutal, everyday reality. To get it, you have to forget the modern kitchen with its electric stoves and safety-tested appliances. You have to travel back to a time when the kitchen was one of the most hazardous rooms in the house. Imagine a kitchen from 100 or 200 years ago. This wasn't a bright, open-plan space for entertaining. Historically, the kitchen was often a dark, smoky, and chaotic workshop, a place of open fires, bubbling cauldrons, and razor-sharp knives. There were no temperature dials, no timers, no smoke detectors. The only safety feature was your undivided attention. In this environment, distraction wasn't an inconvenience. It was potentially lethal. A moment of lost focus while you're lost in a song could mean a sleeve catching fire on an open hearth. It could mean not hearing the hiss of a pot boiling dry, which could ruin the pot or even cause a small explosion of superheated metal. In some high-pressure professional kitchens today, music is still used carefully or avoided during the busiest times to ensure maximum focus and clear communication. While there isn't a universal, documented rule from history explicitly forbidding singing for safety, it stands as a deeply plausible piece of folk wisdom. It's the kind of practical advice a mother would give a daughter, not as a superstition, but as a life lesson. Pay attention or you will get burned. Singing, by its nature, can take you out of the present moment. It occupies the part of your brain that should be listening, watching, and smelling for signs of danger. But the practical fears went beyond just fire and boiling water. There's another, more subtle layer we can look at through a modern lens: hygiene. Today we're told to sing Happy Birthday twice to ensure we wash our hands for 20 seconds. But what if we flip that logic? Long before germ theory was understood, our ancestors operated on an intuitive understanding of cleanliness. So could the warning against singing have been an early instinctive form of food safety? Think about it. When you sing, you expel tiny droplets of saliva. It's speculative, of course. No ancient text says, "Sing not, lest thy spittle spoil the stew." But in a world without refrigeration, where food spoilage was a constant threat, any action that could contaminate a meal would have been viewed with suspicion. So the first secret is a practical one. Born from a world of daily hazards, the warning wasn't about joy being forbidden, it was about survival. It was a reminder that the kitchen demanded respect and unwavering focus. Alright, now we move from the world of practical dangers into the far stranger realm of the supernatural. The second hidden reason has nothing to do with safety and everything to do with luck, spirits, and attracting a terrible fate. Across many cultures, the kitchen is more than just a room for preparing food. It's a place of transformation and the spiritual center of the home. Because of this, it was often seen as a liminal space, a threshold where the mundane world and the spirit world could intersect. The hearth, the heart of the kitchen, was considered a direct portal for this energy. In this supernaturally charged environment, a carefree song wasn't just fun. It was a beacon, an invitation. In some pockets of European folklore, there were beliefs that household spirits, like brownies or hobgoblins, inhabited the home. An unexpected song could either offend them or draw their unwanted attention. A cheerful tune might be seen as a sign of laziness or disrespect for the serious task of preparing food, causing the spirit to curdle the milk or spoil the bread. To counter such forces, some traditions even involved placing a kitchen witch poppet in the room as a good luck charm. But the most specific and widespread superstition tied to singing in the kitchen is far more personal, and it targets the cook. In the Philippines especially, and with similar beliefs found in places like Thailand and Malaysia, a powerful and persistent superstition warns that if a young, unmarried woman sings while cooking, she will be cursed in her love life. The most common outcome is that she will end up marrying a much older man, a widower, or be doomed to never marry at all. This belief is so ingrained that even today, many mothers and grandmothers will instantly silence a daughter who starts humming over the stove. Why this specific curse? Folklorists suggest a few ideas. One interpretation is that singing was a sign of such contentment that the young woman was essentially telling fate she didn't need a husband. Her happiness was already complete, so the spirits of fortune would simply pass her by. Another more pragmatic theory is that it was a form of social conditioning. A singing cook might be seen as distracted and less focused on her domestic duties. In a society where a woman's skill in the kitchen was a key part of her marriageability, appearing frivolous could damage her reputation. The curse of marrying an old man might have been a cautionary tale, a way of saying, if you don't take your kitchen duties seriously, you won't attract a desirable young husband. Whatever its origin, this superstition shows a profound connection between cooking, the fate of the cook, and the invisible forces believed to govern our lives. To sing in the kitchen wasn't just making noise, it was tempting fate and risking a lonely future. It's fascinating how these beliefs travel through generations. I'm curious, what are some strange kitchen rules you grew up with? Share your country and the rule in the comments below. I'd love to read about the traditions from your part of the world. The third secret is perhaps the most hidden of all because it's not about a physical danger or a supernatural curse. It's about power, perception, and control. The warning against singing in the kitchen was also an unwritten rule in a complex social code designed to regulate behavior, particularly that of women. For much of history, the domestic kitchen was considered a woman's domain, but this wasn't necessarily a position of power, it was a sphere of duty. Especially in the 19th and early 20th centuries, domestic work was often framed not as a creative outlet, but as a solemn responsibility. Household management guides from the era portrayed the ideal homemaker as a serious, scientific manager of the home. Within this rigid framework, singing could be perceived as unprofessional. It suggested frivolity, idleness, and a sign that you weren't taking your work seriously. A woman humming a tune might be seen as daydreaming instead of concentrating on the precise measurements for a cake. It ran counter to the ideal of the diligent, focused, and sober-minded homemaker. This social pressure could be even more intense for those who cooked for a living, like maids and other domestic servants. For them, the kitchen was a workplace, and in a strict, hierarchical household, the sound of a cook singing might be interpreted as a sign of laziness or disrespect. Silence was a mark of deference and efficiency. Singing could be seen as stepping out of line. This dynamic reflects a broader historical pattern of policing women's expression. Just as women were often discouraged from speaking too loudly, laughing too boisterously, or expressing strong opinions, the subtle discouragement of singing was another small way of reinforcing social norms. It communicated that a woman's happiness should be quiet, contained, and secondary to her duties. Her role was to provide for others, and her own private joy was an indulgence that could wait. So the third secret is a social one. The rule against singing wasn't just about the food or the fire, it was about maintaining a certain social order. It was a quiet form of control that linked a woman's worth to her silent servitude. So the next time you hear that echo in your mind, "Don't sing in the kitchen," you'll know it's so much more than a quirky saying. It's a chorus of history. It carries the voice of a practical ancestor, worried you'll get burned. It holds the whisper of an ancient superstition, terrified you might curse yourself to marry an old man. And it contains the murmur of a forgotten social code, a reminder of a time when a woman's work was meant to be performed in solemn silence. What started as a simple rule reveals itself to be a complex artifact of human history, holding our fears, our beliefs, and our social anxieties. Thankfully, our kitchens are safer, our belief in cooking curses has waned, and we are largely free to reject the oppressive social codes of the past. In fact, many now argue that music makes cooking a more joyful and creative act, but these old warnings haven't vanished completely. They linger in the back of our minds, a testament to the powerful and often mysterious legacy of the elders and what they never told us.